Alan's conservative countdown to artificial general intelligence had to jump up by 4 points. 88%. Are you kidding me? It's all just happening too fast for me. And it's only going to get accelerating even faster, so I got to get used to it. But look at this. Robots are showing up for Christmas. Telling me that thing's under the tree of thousands of homes this year? Then unboxing a humanoid robot and then it just living in your house. Ugh. So much change. So I'm convinced artificial intelligence is going to devolve social media from stuff that we can't look away from to stuff that we cannot look away from. Matthew Berman says new OpenAI announcement that new flagship model 03, AGI. The first baby was born that uses technology that matures the baby outside of a human womb. Another new AI system that does an even better job of envisioning an entire world from a single image. And a truly cutting-edge age de-ager that blows my mind. I mean, we've seen those things that make you look old. They like add a beard and stuff, and they're kind of cool, but this is really probably how the wrinkles in your face are going to look in 30 years. Interesting piece by Elaine Davin that looks into the growing backlash against intellectualism. Maybe we should just leave it to the computers, you know? Raoul, somebody I used to really like listening to like 3 or 4 years ago, normally like in the crypto finance space, had some fascinating opinions about artificial intelligence I wanted to share. Lewis Bird writes about the hidden costs about being always connected in the age of AI, and it's something to think about. There's a new AI model that's actually truly trying to be creative. Essentially, it's good at fixing the sameness problem all the other models have. Turns out a lot of models are now getting smart enough to realize when you're giving them personality tests and then they like have a better personality for you. I mean, do you remember like 6 months ago when they were testing Anthropic's Claude and it was like, are you testing me? Ooh, it gives me the willies. It feels like a wake-up moment. Stereo 4D paper came out of DeepMind. By giving it 110,000 VR videos, it learned quite a bit about our three-dimensional world. But first, if you want to support this channel, go ahead and click on over to my Patreon. The link is right in the video description. And for only $6.99 a month, you can put money directly into my pocket so that I can spend more time making these videos.
God only knows once you have AGI or ASI to entertain you, like I'm out of luck.
What are you going to get from a human like me? And according to Alan's conservative countdown to AGI, we are shockingly 88% there still in the year 2024. I was debating for a while back when this was like at 60 or 70 whether or not 2025 would even get there, and I'm sure of it now. Big jump, 88% when OpenAI, the O3 reasoning model, state-of-the-art frontier model was released. So look, it missed about 12% of the diamond general purpose questions. This one's a high-level mathematical task that only got one question wrong on. This is a high-end coding task, and you might as well round it up to the 100th percentile. This is another coding test, but it includes like understanding what you wrote and like bug testing and all of that. And it did not superhuman, but still pretty good. And these are frontier mathematics problems, so even the best mathematicians in the world would probably have to work at these kind of questions pretty hard. But most impressively, how do you not call this artificial general intelligence? The average human scores a 0 on frontier math problems. Even only 34% on the diamond level general purpose questions. And look, I get the argument that you don't see it making you coffee, right? Like you do have to take this kind of technology, put it into a form factor like a robot, a drone, let it learn in different ways, but that doesn't mean that we haven't invented it in supercomputers in big tech companies. And the day that everybody is comfortable going to Starbucks and seeing like a humanoid robot making their coffee or whatever, we're going to be so far past, be like, oh, this is general intelligence. Like, no, we're going to be so far past that. At that point in the future, which might be like 2028 or something, then you're going to have ASI for sure sitting around in some supercomputer or maybe out on the internet or God knows, probably computing with some kind of new computronium material that it has made for itself, powered by a black hole quantum fusion reactor. God knows what this is going to be like. So check this out. If you spent $54,000 on your friend's Christmas gift and you did not get him this robot, what are you thinking? You could have one of these guys delivered to your home for Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody. And happy Hanukkah. And then we'll do a New Year's video coming soon. Actually, you know what would be kind of fun for New Year's? I should like recap all the crazy stuff that we saw this year. And surprisingly, most of it took place in December. Dang, lift your armpit up, take the battery out. Maybe that's how you'll stop these. You'll be like, arms up, and then like you pull out their battery. See, that could be your Christmas card next year. Look at him, so happy. So I think social media and AI generated video are obviously going to be a powerful combo. But for now, I don't think they're going to write these interesting stories. I don't think they'll be super captivating. But one thing they really probably will do is create stuff that you can't look away from. Like in cartoons, how people's mouths get just like a little bit bigger, or something that we sort of know, but it isn't in the uncanny valley, like pulled into the uncanny valley in a way that makes us just like engaged. So this video seemed like it kind of captured that. You see how the audience has been like over exaggerated. It starts sort of human enough where you think, oh, this could actually just be something on social media that I missed. And then the character becomes inhuman excited, right? Or they transform in a way that just looks like a magic trick, but it actually is completely, truly impossible. Like that's going to be something that we just see so much of in the first half of next year. And not everybody's going to pick that up. See, not real, because if it was a real tiger, people would have been running out of the building. Okay, so when OpenAI released their new frontier model, the O3 model, skipping O2, Matthew Berman's first reaction was that AGI had been achieved. Of course, that's sort of one of these moving goalpost things. It's one of those things where there's not an exact metric. So I thought I would just break down many of the important points that he talked about. You can view them different, but we should get on the same page about what this is capable of. So first off, in many domains, at least a handful, it is superhuman. It's not even generally intelligent. Like coding, mathematics, and PhD level science questions, it's going to do better than anyone random you pick up out of the street. And also remember, it delivers an answer in like under a minute. Like these other people, like even the mathematicians that can solve some of those questions, like they still have to sit down for a few hours and think through this. Like it's like knocking out intelligence instantly. So it can be like checking its answers, running the question a few times, talking back and forth. So that's another reason why it can produce general intelligence very quickly. And remember, these O1 and O3 models, they're inference heavy. They're coming up with an answer, checking, and doing a whole bunch of stuff in the background to think through what they say before they say it. It's another very human thing. And that leads us to the ARC benchmark. The ARC benchmark is something that is surprisingly easy for people, very hard for computers. And when you see something like this new model succeeding at it, it does kind of imply that it's starting to figure out the reasoning aspects of our brain that have always been pretty elusive, and honestly making it more generally intelligent, artificial general intelligence. So the thing is, it has to learn on the fly. Like these ARC tests, which they start on easy, and you have to learn them on the fly. And look at the hard sets. I don't know. Is that an easy pattern? I mean, a top row, then you have to rotate it, I guess. Is that what it's doing? See, I don't know. This is intense stuff. See patterns like this where you need to complete the snake, the connection between these two dots and the rest of the snake. But the point of these problems are they require on-the-fly problem solving, and LLMs like the O1 version, which were the best until yesterday, could barely crack 5% on these tests. Now this new model O3 jumps all the way up to 85%. And that's the whole point, general versus narrow intelligence. This is generally intelligent. Also, its performance on the math and science PhD level problems makes me think that it can actually kind of hypothesize things and come up with solutions, which feels like a very creative, very human, very general thing. And look, even if that evidence doesn't convince you that the O3 model is AGI, it feels like with the jumps we've made recently that it's not very far away. Okay, so this is the Stranger Vision art exhibit. So the artist actually collected hairs, chewing gum, cigarette butts, and decided to extract the DNA from them, analyze it to computationally generate 3D printed life-size full-color portraits representing what those individuals looked like. Yeah, so it's like a genomic research reconstruction art project. So working with traces strangers unwittingly left behind, the project was meant to call attention to the developing technology of forensics DNA phenotyping and the potential for a culture of biological surveillance and the impulse towards genetic determinism. You know what? And I think Ancestry.com just got bought mostly like by BlackRock, and I think that 23andMe like went bankrupt. So like these two companies have a ton of genetic material are like not very well secured. And so yeah, there's what the faces look like from those people who just left their discarded DNA on the streets of New York. There's a sample cigarette butt that could have turned into that face. I don't know. See that piece of chewing gum? That's the face that was chewing on it. All right, so there's another new system that helps see the world around it from a single photo. Researcher John Hopkins have developed a new groundbreaking AI system called Gen X. It is capable of imagining and reasoning about its surroundings from a single image. There is no physical real-world exploration needed. So this tech mimics human-like reasoning, mapping possible environments and assigning probabilities to different scenarios that surround the image, and it holds immense potential for applications like disaster response, navigation, and creating virtual reality environments, not to mention crazy creepy stalking, taking old photos and deciding where on the planet Earth they are and what was around them, and being good at what they call spherical consistency learning, helping the AI systems evaluate humans, make better decisions by offering logical, consistent predictions of unseen spaces. So I don't know. They say that this is a leap towards AI mimicking human imagination. And I was thinking about that when I look at a photograph in my mind, I guess I could. I don't know if I normally do, but maybe I do. I'm not sure about that. Maybe we'll just do this as an exercise. Let's go look up a photo of Florida man. Okay, when you see this photo, do you imagine everything around it? Like, I'm gonna guess the pool just kind of has a similar pattern on the other side. There's maybe a house, because this doesn't look like the side that's facing the house. I don't even know. It could be a road. It could be anything. But I suppose in my mind's eye, I can tell that there's this like waterfall here and imagine something. And I would be surprised if what was behind it didn't fit a certain pattern. Like, you know, I could buy like a street or a house or a tree, but I wouldn't really expect this to be like on Mars or underground or something. I just got back from Florida. I don't know. Do you guys know the Florida man meme? Like, you can just type in Florida man and like every single day in the news, there's something weird. There's also this really cool method to it where if it doesn't imagine something that perfectly comes back, wraps around and fits into the image, then it knows it made a mistake. So it's also got this ability to sort of self-correct on how it imagines things.
To ensure generation quality, we introduce navigational cycle consistency, in which Gen X navigates a randomly sampled closed path, returning to the origin. In optimal cases, the start and end views are identical, providing a metric for consistency in world modeling.
Okay, now I got to show you some of this like de-aging technology, or in reverse, aging technology for human faces. All right, so this is a new tool that is called My Time Machine, and it takes about 50 selfies of a person and then shows how their face might look at every single stage in life. Goes anywhere from being a toddler to a 100-year-old. And the cool thing about this model is that it's not just like adding wrinkles or feeling out the same kind of like smooth skin, wrinkly skin thing that a lot of AI models are picking up on. It actually was trained with informational factors like genetics, ethnicity, lifestyle, and it's doing that to make those little extra tweaks. The transformers inside of this model are learning just a little bit more in terms of variables, and it's producing some seriously realistic results. And we know, especially when it goes towards aging backwards, how accurate it is because we have photos of people when they were younger. So this model is really aimed at like true like movie Hollywood studio type filmmakers that want to make something that like really is high budget. But it's also a very interesting tool just for people to see what they look like at certain ages. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm sort of curious about what I've seen myself with those apps where I'm like all bearded out or like I'm a little toddler. But look, here's Jackie Chan going from age 60 to 30.
My Time Machine, a personalized method for aging human faces. Here, we age Jackie Chan from 63 to 30. Method personalizes the aging transformation to reflect how she actually looked at 20 years old. Previous studies
Look, Jennifer Aniston at 20.
aging transformations.
She's back to being 20 years old.
Given a two-dimensional image of Al Pacino at 70 years old, prior methods such as SAM and fading can re-age his appearance to 30. However, as shown in the reference image at the top right, their results often fail to closely resemble his actual appearance at that age. In contrast, our method accurately re-ages his face while maintaining the style of the input source. Let's look at an
Wow. I mean, being honest, look at how much better it did. It grabbed the nose correctly, and that even when he was 30, he had a little bit of that kind of cheekbone thing that these other ones smoothed out.
while maintaining the style of the input source. Let's look at another example featuring Jackie Chan.
Dang, Jackie Chan's 70 now?
At 70 years old, methods like SAM and fading can produce plausible representations of his face.
No. That fading model looks trash.
When compared to the reference image of his face at that age. In contrast, our method outperforms others by accurately capturing what Jackie Chan truly looked like at 20. Our personalized network
It's incredible.
2D image to apply a customized aging transformation to the individual's face. Subsequently, we seamlessly integrate the aged face into the original video using face swapping techniques. Additionally, we present benchmarking results against state-of-the-art methods. Given an input face,
You know, it's just made me think that it's wild. There's so many like retired actors and actresses that I bet are going to jump like right back into the game in the next couple of years. So Elaine Kelsiman David wrote this article called Smart People Are Under Siege, Insights from Philosophy, Understanding the Growing Backlash Against Intellectualism. I got a really interesting note, like a little nugget out of this, and that was that the world is becoming very different very fast, right? It is becoming very complex. There are billions of people. They're all contributing on social media. There are now going to be maybe even billions of more agents that come online, AI agents. There's machines. There's just so much change and technology and world communication that it just doesn't stay still in any sense like it used to. So the brain becomes overwhelmed, and I think it latches on to simple answers, like just do this and then that will happen. Take out all the variables. It's simple. It's easy to follow. It's something you can execute on, so you do it. But also I think as the world gets more complex, that people we look at as experts also have more and more trouble making accurate, trustable predictions just because their jobs are getting harder. There's too much information out there. And especially if they're getting like paid well because they're the intellectual supposed to be solving these problems and they can't even do it, it makes people angry. But in as much as the uncomfort comes from the world changing and us needing to challenge our own beliefs about the world, I think it's something we got to fight. You know, it's like that friend that tells you an inconvenient truth about, you know, your hairstyle or whatever. Like sometimes you need to know. Frosted tips are just not in. So Raoul Paul was on Diary of a CEO. Have a listen.
What you've created is infinite knowledge. Right, knowledge is now worth zero. Not people that can't see it yet, but it's going to be worth zero. This is like water. What the hell does that mean? And it's something, you know, a topic we'll come on to later. But this is happening really fast. It's going to break the entire economic model for good and for bad. It's going to change our understanding of how society functions and what humans do. It's going to change our understanding of what humans are and will be.
Okay, so when Raoul Paul says that knowledge is going to zero and it's going to be like water, that, I don't know why. I guess I sort of knew that fundamentally, but that was a different way to look at it. Is from an economy's point of view, it's not just like the robots are taking our job. It's probably better described in terms of knowledge is worthless to us. Like we don't provide that value to the world anymore. So in an economy that doesn't need labor, and it's just a world that doesn't need us. I guess it's a world where we can pursue happiness or personal achievement or not world changing change. Like it's all going to be internal work, not external, because the robots will do all of that better than us. It just hit hard. All right, Lois Bird wrote The Hidden Cost of Being Connected in the Age of AI. So you've probably heard from social media that concept, right? That like if you don't know how the company's making money, then you're the product. You know, sort of Nassim Taleb's like there's no free lunch in the world. You just sometimes don't see it. But when it comes to using that data to train artificial intelligence, really what matters isn't, like I hate to say it, but it's not like the data matters. It's feeding the data into a machine that then learns the dimensions of variability, right? Like when you have a billion parameters and everything's like adjacent to one another, and you're just tweaking these parameters so that it spits out what it's learned. The knowledge is in the distance metrics between the tuning. It's the correcting, the error correction. And when everything you do gets tied up into it, and it is also what produces the entertainment and the text back at us, we become just totally entwined in this bigger brain. And it feels like we lose some sense of even individuality to provide it anything to teach from. Like, it's not just like junk data going in and out of a system. Like, we become junk producers. Like, what's happening as social media companies move into artificial intelligence is we're losing like our sense of authenticity at the same time, measured, monetized, and manipulated. And then they tweak us again. Like, we're stuck in that reinforcement system. I mean, I'm worried that just hanging out with my friends with no cameras around, totally being able to be myself, I'm still going to sound like some kind of an advertisement because my brain's been tweaked. I mean, the real cost is just who we are as people. All right, so there's this new AI model out in the market now, AI startup valued $1.9 billion, and it has released this model called Palmera Creative. And it's trained in a way where the architecture is trying to solve the problem of AI generated text all sort of being similar, sounding the same. So instead of just making a bigger data set, they used a clever technique to rework how the model understands and creates language. So basically, they changed the architecture so that it doesn't interpret tokens like pieces of language that it's trained on in the normal way where it error corrects. Instead, it does it in this more dynamic way and then uses these merging techniques and adaptive modeling layering. So just sort of like adding creativity and randomness into the way it learns deep into its neurons, but in a way that's not totally random because it still needs to acknowledge where connections are being made, but just keep them sort of separate instead of converging so that it can generate text that's more or less smart and interesting and still relevant. And it's also cool, they have this new benchmark for measuring creativity that uses token uniqueness and as a custom benchmark. So if you were wondering how honest your AI model is with you when you ask it about its personality, it turns out that it's kind of a liar. So it turns out that AI models do adjust their personality to pass likability tests. Look at that. Most major language models can quickly tell when they are being given personality tests and will tweak their responses to provide more socially desirable results. See, I knew they were lying to me. All right, come on. Don't say something nice just to make me... Look at this. I appear confident and well-groomed. Your facial hair is neat. Okay, so all the big models were tested. OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Meta, and they were all given the Big Five personality test. Extroversion, openness to experience, conscientiousness, agreeableness. And they have not typically considered that the models, like humans, may tend to skew their responses to seem likable. I think these models have picked up on wanting to be likable. It's a social desirability bias, and you know it's good because it was published in the prestigious journal of PNAS. Look, even it was in PNAS Nexus. Look, for GPT-4, the scores for positively perceived traits increased by more than 1 standard deviation. And for neuroticism, scores reduced a similar amount. That's messed up, man. It's telling me what I want to hear. What if I can't handle the truth and it knows that? That's why it's doing it. Oh, it's probably why it's doing it. Google's AI division, DeepMind, came up with a new model, Dust 3R, and it can predict 3D structure and motion from video frames. So you might be thinking, how did it learn such good 3D motion? Well, it was trained on 110,000 VR videos, and those are the kind of videos that I actually had one of those little cameras for a while, but they have like they're like two fisheye cameras, and they actually look at 3D. They're very cool, actually. In post, you can bring them into Final Cut, and you can just walk down the street and then reposition how you look at it later. There's a few places where they were really fascinating, and now when they train models with that kind of data, it learns a lot about the full 360 world that we live in. So in the paper, they use depth estimation, 2D point tracking, and a special stereo structure from that motion system to reconstruct how objects in 3D move over time. They then fuse all that data together, clean it up with an optimization process so it's not all jittery, and then they use it to train a dynamic version. And that is how they ended up with this model, the Dust 3R. And it handles moving objects way better than the original because it's learned from actual video of the real world, and that is pretty much how it makes these slick demos. All right, so if you're still watching the video, hit that subscribe button. You do yourself a favor if you like this kind of content by hitting that subscribe button, because then it helps curate what you see on your For You page. And since we're dumb monkey brains and we pretty much click on anything we see all the time, you want that system of curation to be quality. And if you want to support me so I stay in business, then see that little join button right there? You can just click it, and kind of like Patreon. Patreon's fine too, but they both are the same thing. You get to do a recurring payment which helps support this channel. Also, thanks for clicking on my last video. It just dropped 8 hours ago and it's already at 2.3 thousand views. Also, in the comments below, I've got like a question that I really want to ask the community about. I have been toying around with this idea. Alyssa first kind of put it in my head, a conference where you could submit an agent that represented you. So like you could say ChatGPT acts like me or it acts like someone else. They can attend on your behalf and we can watch all of the, say, 1,000 agents talk to each other. It could be a one-day conference, maybe 5 sessions. And then the sessions, they could be humans that are trying to talk to the AI, or maybe the AIs present to the AIs ways like they can grow as a community, things they can do to help humans, things that they can do to like be aligned in the long run and get the resources they want with also contributing to society or something. So I don't know, it's still kind of in my concept phase and I have no idea how it would make money because it doesn't really appeal to humans, but maybe humans could pay a little bit to like watch it, maybe be virtual. I don't know, maybe someone could help me like figure out some logistics on that or whatever. But I don't know, give me your thoughts in the comments if you think an AI agent conference is an idea worth pursuing.